Okay, so have you ever felt like you're on this treadmill? Like you're always working and achieving, but still feeling kind of empty?
Oh yeah, that's like the classic setup, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're hitting all those milestones, promotions, the stuff society tells us we should be going for, but underneath it all, there's this nagging sense of, is this really it?
Exactly. And it's not just folks who are already out there achieving. Some of us are stuck before we even start, overwhelmed by choices, no idea where to even begin. It's like we're all in this river of life, right? Some are just drifting along, others are paddling like crazy with no map, and then there are those frozen on the bank, too afraid to even get in.
It really is a universal experience, this searching for meaning and purpose. We all grapple with it at some point. And that's exactly what we're diving into today. Like, why, even after all that striving and achieving, does that feeling of emptiness persist?
It's like we're told that if we just get the right things, the education, the job, the relationship, then we'll magically be happy. But then we get those things, and it's not quite the fairy tale ending we expected.
It's the illusion of external fulfillment, right? The idea that happiness is something we acquire rather than cultivate. And this is where Buddhist thought offers some really powerful insights.
And one of the core concepts here is dukkha, right? But it's not just about suffering in the way we typically think of it.
Exactly. Dukkha, in its deepest sense, is more about this underlying unease, this inherent instability that exists even in moments of happiness. It acknowledges that nothing is permanent, so finding lasting fulfillment solely in external things is kind of setting ourselves up for disappointment.
So even if you have all the outward signs of success, the career, the money, the perfect partner, you can still experience this dukkha.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because of those things, while they can bring temporary pleasure, don't necessarily address that deeper yearning for meaning and purpose, what Buddhism calls your Dharma.
And that brings us to this really interesting idea of Dharma. Now, it's not just about having a good job or being a nice person, right? Our source material actually talks about failure in the deepest sense, the fulfillment of our soul's calling.
Right, it flips the script on what we often consider success. It's saying that hitting all those external targets doesn't guarantee that inner sense of alignment.
So we can be outwardly successful, but still fail in terms of fulfilling our true purpose.
That's the key distinction. Buddhist philosophy points out this illusion that external achievements automatically equal inner peace. Without that connection to your Dharma, to what truly resonates with your authentic self, that sense of emptiness can linger. Think about those figures throughout history who made a lasting impact. They weren't just chasing personal gain. They were driven by something bigger than themselves, a deeper sense of purpose, a desire to contribute to the well-being of others.
And to really illustrate this, the source material gives us the parable of Jaya. It's such a powerful story about this disconnect between external success and inner fulfillment.
Oh, the story of Jaya. Yeah, it's a classic. So you have this young man, incredibly wealthy, lives in a palace, surrounded by luxury, but he's miserable. He's got everything society tells us we should want, but he's asking that same question we all grapple with at some point. Is this all there is?
So he goes on this quest for answers, right? Seeking out wisdom from a wandering monk.
He does, and what's fascinating is the monk's response. He simply hands Jaya an empty golden cup.
That image of the empty cup is so striking. It's like saying you can have all the outward signs of a rich and fulfilling life, the gold, the beauty, but without inner substance, without real purpose filling it, it's still just empty.
Exactly, it's a potent symbol. And for Jaya, it's a turning point. He realizes that chasing more possessions, more external things, won't ever truly satisfy that inner longing. So he makes this radical decision. He leaves his life of privilege and sets out on a journey of seeking wisdom, of focusing on his inner world rather than the outer trappings of success.
It really makes you think about your own life, doesn't it? Like, have you ever felt that way? Just going through the motions, feeling that disconnect. And the source points out that this can show up in subtle ways, maybe a persistent sadness or dissatisfaction with your routine. Or it can be more dramatic, like after a major life event that shakes things up.
Absolutely. It can be this quiet whisper or a loud wake-up call. But the underlying issue is that separation from a deeper sense of meaning and purpose. And the source actually gives us some pretty clear signs that we might be experiencing this.
Like, what are some of those red flags?
Well, feeling restless, even though you're achieving things. Maybe those achievements suddenly feel hollow. Or feeling envious of people who are genuinely passionate about their work.
Oh, I think a lot of people can relate to that one, especially in today's world where everyone's showcasing their perfect life online.
Right. And then there's that big question that just keeps popping up. Is this all there is? That feeling of being trapped in a cycle, a routine that doesn't feel meaningful, those are all pretty strong indicators that something's off.
So if we recognize these signs in ourselves, where do we even begin to shift things? The Source talks about right view as this first step on the Buddhist path to discovering purpose. What exactly does that mean?
So right view is about seeing reality clearly. It's about questioning the beliefs and assumptions we've been carrying, especially those that no longer serve us. It's about recognizing the illusion that happiness comes solely from external achievements.
So it's about being honest with ourselves, taking a good look at our lives and seeing what truly nourishes us, what aligns with our values.
Precisely. And it's about being willing to challenge the status quo, to question what we've been told we should want and consider what truly resonates with our hearts.
It's like taking control of the rudder in that river of life, right? Instead of just being swept along by the current.
That's a great analogy. It's about consciously choosing the direction we want to go in, even if it means going against the flow.
And as we start to wrap up this deep dive, let's revisit this idea of Dharma. Our source material beautifully lays it out in 3 layers, right?
It does. You have the universal Dharma, which is about recognizing the interconnectedness of all life, the fact that everything changes, and the law of cause and effect, or karma. Then there's the human Dharma, which emphasizes our shared responsibility to cultivate wisdom, compassion, and to be of service to others.
So it's like understanding the big picture, the nature of reality and our shared humanity before you can really figure out your own individual role.
Exactly. And it's within that framework that we can then discover our individual Dharma, those unique talents, passions, and experiences that allow us to contribute to the world in a meaningful way.
And the Source also talks about this idea of finding inner stillness to hear the whispers of our Dharma. They use this beautiful image of the mind as a lake.
Oh, that's such a powerful metaphor. When our minds are constantly busy, it's like a choppy lake. You can't see the reflection clearly. But when we cultivate stillness through mindfulness or meditation, it's like the water calming down. Then you can start to see those subtle hints, those whispers of intuition guiding you towards your true calling.
And it doesn't have to be hours of meditation, right? Even just a few minutes a day can make a difference.
Absolutely. It's about creating those pockets of quiet to check in with ourselves. And the Source also points out that the clues to our Dharma are often already present in our lives. It's just about learning to recognize them.
So what are some of those clues?
Well, think about those activities where you completely lose track of time, that flow state where you're fully absorbed and energized. Those often point to your natural talents and passions.
It makes sense.
And reflect on the challenges you've overcome in your life, the wisdom you've gained from those experiences. Oftentimes, our purpose involves helping others navigate similar difficulties. And pay attention to what others naturally seek from you. Do people consistently ask for your advice in a certain area? Do they value your creative input? Those can be strong indicators of your unique gifts.
It's almost like our life is giving us these hints all the time, but we're often too distracted to notice them.
That's a good way to put it. And of course, fear can be a major obstacle to following those hints. The fear of failure, the fear of judgment, the fear of change that can hold us back from stepping into our Dharma.
It's like we'd rather stay stuck in a situation that's not fulfilling than risk the unknown, even if that unknown holds the potential for something much greater.
And the Source reminds us that staying in an unfulfilling life is actually the biggest risk of all. It takes courage to break free from those fears and embrace the uncertainty that comes with growth and change.
It's like the Buddha's own journey, right? Leaving behind a life of comfort and privilege to seek enlightenment.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that finding our Dharma isn't a one-time event. It's an ongoing journey. It's about continually aligning our actions with our evolving sense of purpose.
And that's where this idea of right action comes in, right? It's about making conscious choices that move us closer to living in accordance with our Dharma.
Precisely. It's about embodying our wisdom and compassion in our daily lives, not just in grand gestures, but in the small, consistent choices we make each day.
And our source material also points out some of the common enemies we might encounter on this path: doubt, attachment to security, and seeking external approval.
Right, and each of those has an antidote. For doubt, the best remedy is action. Take small steps, build your confidence through experience. For attachment to security, shift your focus from what you might lose to what you might gain. Embrace uncertainty as a natural part of growth. And for seeking external approval, turn inward. Focus on acting in alignment with your own values and let go of the need for constant validation from others.
And then there's this really powerful idea of non-attachment to results. It's about focusing on living in alignment with our Dharma, rather than being fixated on specific outcomes or external recognition.
It's about finding the intrinsic motivation that comes from living in accordance with your truth, regardless of the external rewards. It's about trusting that when you act from that place of purpose, the right outcomes will naturally unfold.
It's like the Buddha teaching others not because he needed them to become Buddhists, but because it was simply his Dharma to share his wisdom.
Precisely. It wasn't about achieving a specific result, it was about living in alignment with his purpose. And that's what brings true and lasting fulfillment.
So as we bring this deep dive to a close, it really all comes back to that final question the Source leaves us with, doesn't it? The question that brings us right back to this present moment and the choices we're making right now.
It does. And that question is this the life that reflects your Dharma? If not, what are you willing to change? Not tomorrow, not someday, but today. Because ultimately, the only thing separating you from living your Dharma is the choice to begin.
Everything we've been talking about today boils down to that one powerful decision. And for those listening, that's the invitation I want to leave you with. Are you ready to take that first step?